Let's jump right into this explainer. Picture this, okay? It's late at night. The halls of the White House are dead quiet. And there, standing completely silently in the shadows, is a tall man wearing a black suit. Over the years, presidents, first ladies, military officers, and White House staff have all reported seeing this exact same mysterious figure. It's wild, right? Well, let's dive into it.
The question that has baffled historians and paranormal enthusiasts alike for over 150 years is this: who exactly is the ghost president of the White House? Well, the answer whispered among the political elite has stayed remarkably consistent. People firmly believe that this towering, silent figure is literally none other than America's most famous leader, Abraham Lincoln. It's a truly fascinating piece of political folklore. And today, we're going to break down the origins, the witnesses, and the evidence straight from our source material.
Here's our quick roadmap for today's explainer. 1. The legend begins. 2. Churchill meets the ghost. 3. Sightings during national crises. And 4. Skeptics versus true believers.
All right, Section 1, the legend begins.
To really wrap our heads around this mystery, we got to travel back to 1865. The Civil War had just ended, and America was a nation steeped in profound mourning. The country had just lost its leader to a tragic assassination, and it was in this heavy, grief-stricken atmosphere that the seeds of this enduring legend were really planted. At first, right after his death, the reports were strictly auditory. White House workers claimed they heard heavy footsteps pacing late at night, unexplained knocks echoing through empty rooms, and doors opening completely by themselves. Initially, people just brushed it off. But then, as the years went by, the auditory kind of shifted to visual. Witnesses started reporting a tall shadow standing near the windows of the room Lincoln used during the Civil War, just looking out over the city. Others described a figure silently walking through the hallways before completely disappearing into thin air.
Moving right along to Section 2, Churchill meets the ghost, our prime witness. Okay, the scene is set during the dark, incredibly stressful days of World War II. British Prime Minister Winston Churchill is staying as a guest at the White House. According to historical accounts, Churchill had just finished taking a bath late one evening. He walks into his bedroom, and there, standing right near the fireplace, is the absolute, unmistakable figure of Abraham Lincoln. Churchill reportedly just stared at this towering apparition in absolute shock. But, being the famously unflappable statesman that he was, he collects himself, takes a deep breath, and calmly says, "Good evening, Mr. President." And according to the story, the very moment those words were spoken, the mysterious figure just vanished. Poof! It is easily one of the most legendary and, honestly, highly credible encounters ever recorded in the history of the building.
And this perfectly highlights the core of the whole mystery, the sheer caliber of the witnesses. We're not just talking about one or two easily spooked individuals here. As the decades passed, sightings were reported by first ladies who felt unseen presences, dedicated White House employees who heard distinct voices in empty rooms, highly trained security personnel who described seeing figures where literally no one should have been, and seasoned diplomats. So the absolutely crucial point to remember is that these are people with serious global reputations to protect, people who are highly unlikely to just invent ghost stories, yet they consistently reported these deeply unexplainable events, generation after generation.
Which brings us to Section 3, sightings during national crises. Exactly when does he appear? Well, there are specific triggers that seem to correlate with an uptick in reports. Several modern presidents have allegedly spoken in private about unusual experiences, specifically during times of war, deep political turmoil, or massive national emergencies. The prevailing rumor among generations of White House staff is that Lincoln's spirit doesn't just wander aimlessly. Instead, they believe he shows up specifically when America faces its greatest challenges, kind of pacing the halls to watch over the nation he fought so desperately to save. Now think about this for a second. The modern White House is undeniably one of the most secure, heavily monitored buildings on the entire planet. We're talking thousands of high-definition cameras, hypersensitive motion detectors, elite Secret Service protection, the whole shebang. Yet, despite this absolute fortress of technology, the unexplainable folklore continues. Now, full-blown apparitions might be a bit rarer these days, but visitors and staff continually report incredibly strange feelings inside historic rooms. People claim they feel watched by an unseen presence, or they walk into sudden, totally unexplained cold spots. So technology hasn't erased the legend. The experiences have just kind of adapted.
All right, Section 4, Skeptics versus True Believers. Let's weigh the evidence.
The skeptics actually present a very logical, grounded explanation here. The White House is, without a doubt, a total pressure cooker. They argue that extreme stress, exceptionally long working hours, and just the sheer weight of history naturally mess with human perception. When you're absolutely exhausted in a building famous for its history, ghost stories are going to spread like wildfire. It's just the psychology of expectation. But the believers have some pretty strong counterpoints. They point to the sheer, overwhelming volume of these reports. They highlight the incredible consistency of the descriptions. A tall man, a dark suit, the exact same pacing footsteps. And we're talking about reports from credible people decades apart who had never even spoken to one another. It's this fascinating standoff between psychological stress and unexplainable consistency.
Which leaves us, and honestly every visitor who walks those historic halls today, asking the exact same question. Are these stories simply the product of imagination, exhaustion, and America's greatest political legend? Or is there something more? What if America's most famous president never truly left the White House? I'll leave you to ponder that for a moment. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning what you think you know.